On this episode of the Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast, I'm talking to Bonnie from Herbalty Cottage in Medina, New York. Like many great success stories, Herbalty Cottage was born out of a personal tragedy and the obstacles that followed. But the result is a business that is truly doing good work in the Western New York community by offering services and products that offer a 360 holistic healing approach with a track record of proven success. It's a truly inspiring, heartfelt story that only goes to show that in the end, we all find our path and we all find the light, even through the darkest times of our lives.
So I own Herbalty Cottage, and our focus is on health and wellness so that we can offer alternatives to people looking for a different way of healing. So we have our bulk organic herbs, and from the herbs, we've created different teas and seasonings. We also have our Himalayan salt products. So we have salt lamps, foot domes, and abundance bowls, and different other salt products. We have pure therapeutic grade essential oils.
Okay.
And then gourmet olive oils imported from Italy, Spain, and Greece. And then our services, we have our daughter does reflexology. She's also certified in acupressure.
Okay.
We have a nutritional therapy practitioner that comes and meets with her clients here as well. And then we have our Himalayan salt room and 2 far infrared saunas that are certified commercial medical grade saunas approved by the FDA.
Wow, that's a lot, actually, right? And for one shop, that's an awful lot. How did you guys start? Like, what was the inception of the business?
We had a serious car accident in 2008.
Oh, God.
And for the first year, I thought I was bedridden. The following year, I knew I was when I just couldn't move.
Right. So you were rough shape then. I mean,
It was rough.
my God. So for a year, you were laid up an entire 12 months. I mean, I was laid up with my surgery for 2 months and I was going up the walls. And you were like hurt. I mean, I had a surgery. I mean, you didn't elect to have this happen. So you couldn't walk, correct?
Well, the first year, I tried to be functional and I just couldn't keep my head up. It felt like a bowling ball on my shoulders. And so I would have to get out of bed, I would have to put my hands underneath my pillow and then bring myself right up and try to steady my head on my shoulders and then go about the day. I was on a soft neck collar. I was on a TENS unit. I was doing traction, physical therapy. And before I started all that, the doctor wanted to put me on muscle relaxers, which I took one, and I vowed I'd never take another again.
Oh wow! What did we? So yeah, I had an incident a couple weeks ago, and I'm on them now, and I hate them. So they just make you loopy, almost detached.
Very much.
Yeah, I hate it. But then if I don't take it, I'm all jacked up. So
right.
So you went through this huge process then you had this accident, you were immediately laid up how long were you in the hospital for? Was it
I wasn't in the hospital.
You weren't?
The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me.
Wow.
So eventually, a year later, I had actually fallen, which really locked my pelvis. So I couldn't even walk. I couldn't even lift my foot to take a step. I couldn't drag my foot.
Oh, man.
So
you're in rough shape, man.
My daughter helped me into bed just to get someplace where I could kind of be comfortable. And then if I needed to turn over in bed, my husband and my daughter would roll me over. It was awful. It was excruciating pain.
Oh, so that started a journey for you then, because first of all, so at the same time that this is going on, so you had your accident, then you fell, and you fell a significant amount of time later. So were you just in the process of recovering and then you had the fall, or was it just like you just couldn't really recover? You just weren't getting better.
Right. So I started chiropractic. And that's when I learned that I was having bulging discs in my neck. well, actually C1 through 5, and my thoracic spine was suffering. I don't remember all that was going on with my discs.
But even
But
one bulging disc is excruciating. I had one in 2016, and I'll never forget it. And even with my surgery now and a couple other things I've been through as far as pain level and threshold,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
another level. And you had multiple?
yes,
Yeah. And this is all
yeah,
going on. So this is all like some huge like coalescence of like you had the accident, you're not getting better, then you fell, and you've got bulging discs, and you're just going through hell trying to figure out like what is going on. And then you're going to doctors, and nobody's really putting it together.
right,
Wow.
right. So I did physical therapy for a year, and that just really didn't seem to help. So I started chiropractic, and my chiropractor was able to get me mobile, but not pain free. So
Okay.
at least I was able to eventually start walking. It took a while after a few adjustments, but when she did all the x-rays, I mean, I went through x-rays and MRIs before, and still the doctors were saying there's nothing that they could do. It's just going to take time.
Wow.
But my chiropractor, I was going in like 3 times a week,
Right.
and then a year after I started seeing my chiropractor, um, she had explained to me her purification system, and it was a 21-day purification program, like a detox.
Okay.
And it's a very uh, rigid
Really?
program
So
to follow.
like basically like you can't it's super restrictive, and you can't really like budge off of this or it'll blow the whole thing, right?
Right, right. And so it was making shakes, eating only fruits and vegetables. After a few days, you could add 3 eggs and rice. Um, After a certain point, you could add chicken.
Oh my gosh. So it was
And
stepped
so,
from like really like basic food groups. Was it grains and vegetables and fruit, or was it just vegetables and fruit?
no, it was vegetables and fruit.
Wow. So you were a
Wait,
monkey. So
well,
you're a little monkey for a while, and then you escalated. So you would step up. Was it almost like a way to reposition your system, like to reacclimate your system to digestion, or to like integrating the nutrition, or
it was to
toxins, or
detox. Yep, to
okay.
detox all the toxins that I have. And what I learned was when you have pain, it could be because of toxins. And there was so much toxins built up because of my former eating habits.
Hmm.
And because of the pain from the accident, it was toxic.
Okay.
And just going through pain and thinking about it causes toxicity as well. And
Really?
so
So this is mind body holistic stuff.
it's everything. Everything's all
Wow. So wait, so
connected.
just thinking about the pain, what is it? It causes like a chemical, some type of reaction in your. In other words, well, because it's stress induced, right? I mean, that's inducing
Yes.
stress,
Yes.
right? So that what is it? Is it the cortisol? What is it? It's like, right? Because I mean, you're basically escalating all the stress chemicals
Right.
and hormones in your body, right? You're just like on
Right.
fire. This is a cyclical thing, correct? So you're just like
Yes.
constantly living through this like with the pain, and when it's a self-serving issue then, right? Because you're
Right.
thinking about the
Right.
pain and you're trying to deal with the pain, but by even like acknowledging the pain,
Right.
it's heightening the
Right.
pain, and it's
Right.
causing stress and just kind of just giving you more of what you don't want.
Right.
Wow. Okay. That's horrible. Okay. But that's a why. I
So
mean, they always say like mind over matter, and you
yes.
have to have a good mental attitude when you're, it's no different than my surgery. I had open heart 5 bypass surgery, and I just was like, you know what? This is the card I was dealt. I did this partially to myself. It was partially genetics, and a lot of, the doctor's like, look, a lot of this is hereditary, but you obviously could have done things to help this. You didn't, so now you're here. So you just got to have the best attitude you can,
Right. Right.
So
So I started the purification, and by the third day, I realized I was pain free.
in 3 days, after how long? So wait, you were all jacked up for a year, like a year and a half?
A good 2 years.
So 2 years were just like I can't even imagine. You're like Frodo and Bilbo, like walking to Mordor. You're like, where am I going? I'm going to hell because there's no like I can't get better, right? Because when you can't get better, it's. I mean, I've been in situations like that. Nobody's
It's
helping
not a
you.
good
Oh,
place.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's well because it's degrading on every aspect
Yes.
of your emotions and your stability, your
Yes.
psychology. You just can't even like
Yes.
see your way out of that at some point. But how in 3 days? That's crazy. It's 72
It was
hours.
incredible. So I went through a detox that I really felt the symptoms. So it really made me sick for a day. And it felt like the flu. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what did I put myself into?
Well, yeah, because you're like more, just
It
take
just
more of me. There's
added
nothing
more.
left, but keep
Yes.
taking it, right?
And so the next morning I woke up and I felt fine. And those symptoms were gone. And all of a sudden I realized I got out of bed like I didn't have to lift my head up or anything, and I didn't have any pain. So I went for a walk around my block, which was just under 2 miles, and I didn't do
Wait,
that
you
for
walked
two
two
years.
miles, and in 2 years you hadn't done that?
And I hadn't done that. I came home and I
Crazy.
hadn't gardened in 2 years. So I started gardening. I thought, well, I'll just do a little bit as I can
Oh
handle.
my god.
And so I gardened for a while. I came in my house because I hadn't cleaned it in 2 years. I cleaned it top to bottom.
Right.
And then I went for a bike ride.
It
And
was
then I
one
came
day.
home. One day, one right after the other, I came home and swam 5 laps in my pool.
It's like the
I,
family. You remember the family circus when the little kid he'd walk out of the door and his mom would say, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then it would show like at night, and he comes back and she's like, "What'd you do today?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." And then it shows these little dotted lines of what he did, and it was like
yeah,
everything. So in one day, you did that. You basically like
yes,
exploded because you had been
yes.
so restrained for 2. I mean, I can't even imagine. So in 72 hours, you were back to normal, and
It
then you
was
just had this like
freedom.
huge rush, and you just did everything you couldn't do in 2 years in a day.
Yes, yes.
Wow. Did you pass
It
out? You
was
must have just like passed
incredible.
out after that. But so well, because you know, you're just completely enthralled. I mean, your adrenaline goes through the roof at that point, right? And
Oh, I was going crazy. Yeah.
well, it was like a window. You know, because I have moments too. Had a lot of health issues, and when you have those moments of health, of like deep clarity and deep health, you are like, okay, right? Because you're looking around, you're like, okay, is this going to be the only day that I feel like this, right?
Right,
You have that like
right.
you're like, is tomorrow going to be like it was the day before, or is it going
Am
to
I going to
be?
pay for this tomorrow for doing all that I did today?
Yeah, so it's understandable that you kind of just went nuts. You were just like, I'm free. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it now while I can. You know, you don't know what tomorrow holds. So, but you woke up the
Right.
next day and it was still the same. You were still back
I
to
was
normal.
fine. I was fine. And I went for another walk and I said, Lord, if you are really healing me, I will do whatever you want, even if it means opening up a brick and mortar store, which is something I vowed I would never do. And I said, I will do if you are truly healing me, I will be obedient and do what you want.
Wow. So what did you? So let's backtrack. So were you doing before that you had all this stuff happen?
I was teaching piano lessons.
Oh, no kidding. You're a piano player.
So
Do you still play?
no, I don't have time.
Oh, well, okay. So you were a teacher, though. So that was your
Yes.
career, and then you got in a car accident, and things just slid right downhill for 2 years.
Well, I still did piano lessons. I was just propped up against a wall to help keep my head up. I was still on the soft collar
Oh, you
and the
did.
TENS unit. I still did. I had, the accident was in July, so I had my summers off. So I thought, I just need the summer just to chill and relax and
Right.
heal, and I'll be fine in September. Well, it never got better. And so my son had to drive me. I taught at my friend's dance studio, and 3 days a week, and taught 2 days during the week at my house. So my son would drive me to piano lessons, drive me home because I couldn't turn my neck to look to see if cars
Good
were
gosh. Right,
coming
right.
if I was turning.
Wow, that's a mess. That's such a mess. But so now, how did you meet the chiropractor? Was that recommended? Like somebody was like, "Look, you got to go see." It was a female. It was a woman that you went to.
So it's a husband and wife team,
Okay.
and they live and work in the town that I was teaching piano, and a lot of my friends were going there, and they said it's time you go to the chiropractor.
I see.
So when I couldn't move, then I made that phone call.
Right. So this changed everything for you then, because you're now for 2 years you're living through this hell, and 3 days later, I mean, are they marketing this technique at this point? Because that's like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can they
Well,
get it.
they hired me.
Oh,
I started working for
I'm
them.
not only a customer or a client or a customer. Now I am part of the business.
Yeah.
So you basically, well, you're the testimonial, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's crazy. Uh, so,
Well,
so now it was. So is that how you got involved in this business?
yes.
So through them.
So while I was working for them, I was scheduling appointments for people. I was taking payments. I was doing the billing. I was, doing all that kind of work. And there would be times when some of the patients would call and say, I just can't get out of bed. I can't make it to my appointment. And I'm like, no worries. I said, if you're feeling up to it, just come in when you can.
Right. Well,
You know, it's,
yeah.
I so understood what they were going through. And
So
then,
how did you? But so we went. You had this 3 day change, and then you had this huge adrenaline rush. Your life goes back to normal, and then but how did you end up working for them? Were you just like, this is so amazing? You were so happy and so joyous that they were like, you know what, we're going to hire you.
well, what happened was we were driving home one night from my in-laws, and I couldn't stop thinking about working for them.
I see.
And I'm thinking, how would this work with piano? And
Right.
then I'm like, why am I even thinking like this? They're not even hiring. They have people working for them.
They already have
And,
people. Right.
so we have this half-hour drive, and that is what is going through my mind, how I can make this work to work for them. I come home and I checked my email, and there was an email from my chiropractor, and the subject line said opportunity.
No way.
And she said that an opening was becoming available, and they were wondering if I would be interested in working for them.
Come on. That's, well, there you go. That's life, man. Right? That's synchronicity on high. Right? That's a universe just saying, look,
God is good.
this is your this is your path. Get on it. Did you ever listen to or see The Power of Myth with Joseph Campbell?
No.
So I think the terms of mythologist, but he studies ancient cultures, and he studies the myths that made ancient cultures and so forth. And but it's an amazing, amazing book. I have an ebook copy of it. I should send you. But it's really great if you've lived at all, which you've lived a lot. You'll appreciate. I mean, I saw it when I was 12 and I appreciated it. But as I get older, this is just like this never-ending onion. It's just like the next layer. It's like something I've heard 3,000 times, but I'm seeing it with new eyes. But he has this segment in it. He talks about how your path that you were meant for is always there. You just got to step on it. And that's kind of what happened to you, right? I mean, you stepped on your path.
Yeah, well, God promises that He's got plans for us that are good, that will prosper us, that will not harm us or hurt us. And I was clinging on to that when I was in pain. And then when the healing process started, it was just incredible of everything that was unfolding.
Well, because when you're in those situations, and I've been in them too, you're like, why is this happening to me? And what is the purpose of this? And what is the meaning behind this? And that, because you're a human being. That's, if you have any brain at all, it's not even about intelligence. I mean, anybody would feel that way. Sometimes they even wonder if animals feel that way. There's some type of emotive like thing where you're like, why is this happening to me? And and then you kept going through this cyclical worsening, which is even, like that just is an exponential bad thing, because you're like, okay, you're in one spot and you're like, okay, this sucks. And how do I get out of this? And what is the meaning of this? And when is this going to end? And then something else happens. And you're like, really?
Right.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's a natural inclination after a while. You're like, okay, bad things happen to everybody, but this has been going on for too long. And there's all these other peripheral things that keep happening. So, yeah, it's completely understandable. And then, so this happens, you have this recovery, and then you have this incredible moment where the synchronicity, everything just lined up for you. They send you this email. That's craziness. So you must have just like picked up the phone like right away and were like, yes, right?
Yeah, I responded pretty quickly, and they offered me the job on the spot,
Wow.
and so I started working, and it was incredible because I would see people that was coming in from a car accident, or something just started with them or whatever, and just watching them heal over the weeks of chiropractic. It was just so amazing. And then there would be some that just needed extra support. And at that time, when I started working for them, I started studying herbs, and I became a certified herbalist. And so I was um, starting to use herbs. I had an herb garden that I was using, but some things I couldn't find anything in our county that I needed. I'd have to go to the city like Rochester or Buffalo to get what I needed. And sometimes I didn't feel good enough to travel.
Sure.
And so I just knew that we needed something that I can help support people when they're getting chiropractic and other alternative health care that, through essential oils or herbs or whatever.
Right.
I just wanted to be a place of resource and a place of hope to give to people.
But so you did this when, so you were working for them, but that was at their facility, their offices.
Yes.
Right. So, you were kind of just like, you were like a manager, right? You were essentially like managing their day-to-day routines. You were probably doing some stock stuff, and then you started learning and educating yourself on all these products. So when did you decide, I'm going to open up my own place?
So it was hard for me to keep my mouth closed.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
I think I can help you. As people are leaving after they're paying for their appointment, but they just need a little extra.
I
knew like what could help. It was hard to not say anything. And I say, you might want to try using an herb, such as this, see how that works for you. That might help support what they have just done. And I started experimenting more with herbs and doing different things. And it came to be that there was, and I didn't think of a business at this point.
You were just helping people.
I just, and that's what my chiropractors wanted to do, was just to help people. And that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so one of my piano students, her parents had bought a cluster of buildings in our village, and I've always admired one of the buildings there. And she just happened to say, we just bought these buildings, and if you know of anyone that wants to rent, we would rent it out really, really cheap.
Right.
Really? I'm like, how much?
Well, hold on a second. Let's back up. So this is it's a beautiful story, because it's like, you have to read this section in Power and Myth. I wonder if I can find it for you, because it's amazing, like how that you fell into this, but then, it's like karmic retribution in a way, right? Because you went through so much, and then you healed, and then you were trying to help other people, which is a beautiful thing. And a lot, that's not something everybody would do. And so you're doing that, and you're giving of yourself, and you're just, you're empathetic towards these people that are coming in, and you're seeing them, and you just want to kind of pat them on the butt a little bit and say, okay, here's this herb that'll kind of accentuate your healing, and it'll help you along this path. And then you run into, so you do all this, and then the building, it's literally the particular building that you liked, somebody buys a group of them, and that happens to be one of them, and that also happens to be one that you can then have access to.
It was very easy. It was just down the street from my house.
Wow.
It was very convenient. But I didn't say anything. All of a sudden, all these ideas, when I heard what the rent was, it was dirt cheap. All of a sudden, I had ideas.
I see.
And I'm thinking, I would be a fool not to do something.
Well, that's the universe and God, right? That's every pointing you right there, saying, look, here it is. Here it is. So let's do this, right?
And so all of a sudden, I've got the name for the business. I know what I'm doing, but the village, it's a very quiet village, and they didn't want any businesses coming in.
No.
They shot me down.
Come on. For real? This was the old guard. This isn't the new, right? Correct? This isn't the new blood there. So let's also jump back 1 second. So you have a great name. Great name. Did that just come to you?
Yeah.
Huh.
Herbalty Cottage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. So there you go. So everything, it's like check 4, right? It's like
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. And now here we are. And the
And
town.
now,
So, well, okay, so there's your first resistance. So
yeah.
you have this.
Yeah.
So now but you're renting still. You don't own the building. So you got this.
I didn't even rent. I told them I was interested, and they were helping me trying to get it approved because it was a commercial building back in the day, and then it was changed to residential,
Gotcha.
and the village didn't want to turn it back into commercial again.
I see. That was their problem. Okay.
Yeah. And so there wasn't really a lot of options in that village. And I'm by, I live close by Medina.
Right.
And, Medina is really happening. There are things going on. So on Saturdays, my husband and I would drive into Medina on Saturday mornings, just grab a cup of coffee and walk the streets, just see what was available, what was going on, what was the feel.
Sure.
We did that with other townships as well. And I'm like, Lord, if you want me to open up this business, I told you I would, but it's got to be on Main Street. It's got to be a row building, and it's got to be on the canal.
You had your conditions.
I got conditions, and I got them.
Wow. Yeah, that's all I can say. But listen, I'm not going to talk about it. But I had a very similar experience, and I completely understand. And you're like, it seems at the time, if you ask, like this is just too much to ask for, and then it happens, and you're like, wow. But
Yeah.
that's what they say. You ask, you put it out there, and you receive. So that's what you did. You put it out, and you got it back. But you're also in a business where you're helping people. So I think there's a little bit of karmic juice there, because it's not just all about you. This isn't just a widget company.
No, it isn't about me.
It's a service company that's providing a really valuable service to people.
We're just here for the community and the people of Orleans County so that they don't have to travel when they're not feeling well enough, just to have someone to talk to understand, or just to be there for them.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it's a wellness center,
Yes.
really. I mean, that's what you're doing. I mean, it's such a 360 service that you provide. Wow, that's crazy. So how long ago was this now?
So this September, I'll be here for 7 years.
Wow, congratulations. You passed the 5-year hump. So
Thank you.
Yeah. And so at what point were you just like, okay, this is like because you just started with a couple products, right? You didn't start with a full line of services and products that you have now.
My daughter was being certified for reflexology, so she needed guinea pigs. So we offered customers a free session with her to get her hours and number of people up for her certification.
Oh, that worked too.
So she got certified soon after we opened, and then last summer, I believe it was, she got certified in acupressure as well.
Wow.
But we added one of our saunas, I think 2018, and then it just seemed like we needed to add another, and we ended up having a salt room put in by specialized contractors, and then we added our nutritional therapy practitioner, and everyone's been busy. The services are going well, and we do the farmers market and other events that are local for our olive oils and balsamic vinegars.
Right. Well, and that's huge. And this isn't even a joke, and I'm not exaggerating. I have olive oil and balsamic vinegar every day, pretty much. When I got out of the hospital, I couldn't really eat anything. And even before, for the last 10, 15 years, that was one of my favorite things to eat, was a balsamic vinaigrette with olive oil and just a basic like chicken salad, let's say. And I eat it pretty much every day, and everybody makes fun of me, but I love it, and it's super healthy, and I'm very healthy now. So So,
Yeah, it's very good for you.
oh yeah, and so but olive oils, those are a recent thing for you, correct? Like within the last couple of years, or have you had those?
No, I started out with them.
Wow. But you started out, you have herbs and teas, right? You have teas too, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got
Yes.
herbs and the teas, and then you've got the olive oils. And so all of that kind of was your product
All of
selection?
our products were here. Yep. And then we
Wow.
just started adding services.
I see. So the services, so everything you have now has been your base since you started, and the
Yes.
services. And so was that just, it's just a natural extension. It started with your daughter. And then was that based on like, let's say you had clients and they were inquiring, hey, do you know anybody that can do this and that? And then you're like, hey, we can do that. Or was it just in your brain to, your business
No,
plan?
yeah, I don't come up with anything on my own. It was God. I'd wake up and I'm like, I need a sauna.
Uh,
But I need a really good, a different kind of a sauna that no one else has.
right.
So I just started researching. And then, and I love my Himalayan salt products, and I love talking to people about our salt products and what they can do for you and the benefits. And
Well,
all of a
can you
sudden
tell me? Yeah, I'm interested too. So tell me a little bit about all of that.
So we have different size salt lamps that purifies different size rooms.
Okay.
So it emits negative ions into the air to take out the positive ions.
Okay.
So positive ions would be your dust mites, anything that you may or may not see. It'll take and kind of like absorb it.
Okay.
So people with asthma, allergies, sinus, congestion, those are the things that causes the things, the impurities in the air. And by having a salt lamp on, it takes that out and purifies the air. So people are reporting back to us that they're sleeping a lot better, breathing a lot easier. My husband stopped snoring when we put one in our bedroom.
Whoa. Really? That's huge. I mean, snoring,
Yes, it is.
well, apnea is like a major, I mean, it has a bunch of peripheral issues that are real serious that extend off of apnea. So he literally stopped snoring. Is that just the air quality? I mean, he was having trouble getting the air and he was just gasping,
I don't
prior to
know.
the salt. Wow. So when you started that, you just started with the salt lamps and then you went into the room, like the actual salt room, or?
Yes, we had that built in 2018.
So what is that? Well, how does that work?
So the room, there's salt on the walls and salt on the floor.
Can you
so
lick
the
it?
floor is like
Like Willy Wonka? No,
Yeah,
I'm just
no.
teasing.
My rules
Okay.
say you can't climb the walls, you can't lick the walls.
So it's like a crystal like room almost. That's kind of like what I'm envisioning. Like this is it kind of, it must be beautiful in there, yes? I mean, there's salt.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no licking.
No licking. So it's a 45-minute session because being in the salt room for 45 minutes is like being at the beach for 3 days.
So how does that work?
So we have chairs in there to sit down,
Okay.
and they recline. There's a bench that glides back and forth, and you just go in for 45 minutes and
You chill out and
yeah.
is it
Some
just,
people go to-
is it the air? I mean, what is it? Is it energy, air?
It's
It's
pure
everything?
air. It helps you to relax, but yet it energizes you to do things, but you don't feel stressed
I see.
about getting things done.
Right.
You just feel
Positivity.
so much better. It's
Right. That's a cornerstone of positivity. Like you're supercharged,
Yes.
but you're not stressed. You're just,
Right.
So really, that's awesome. So how did you, how do you construct a room? I mean, do you have to replace the rock at some time, the salt, or is it just like it's just there and it stays there and it just kind of emits or whatever it does to the air? You don't have to like replace it at all at any given time, or?
No.
Wow.
The Himalayan mountains are pretty old.
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
You know,
I don't know if
they
like
don't
there's a
disintegrate.
chemical property that kind of almost degrades over time, but it just doesn't. It's just kind of inherent in the material, like the salt
Yes.
itself, the
Yes.
mineral. So, wow, that's amazing. So now that alone, though, you're kind of coupling a lot of this stuff, right? So if somebody comes in to you and they have like a chronic condition, then you could say, well, or is it more like the salt room's just good for anybody? It's not even like a particular thing. Like in other words, yeah.
Anyone that has asthma, allergies, sinus, congestion, COPD, emphysema, recovering from COVID when they have that lingering cough
Yep.
or lung
Long
issues.
COVID. Yeah.
Um, Also, it helps with the anxiety, depression, seasonal affect.
My God.
Some people just go in just to go in, but it has so many more benefits, though.
That's
And
amazing.
anyone can go in. Even I've had nursing mothers bring in their babies to nurse them
Huh.
in there, or colicky babies, and they bring them in, and they just calm right down.
You know, it would be an awesome business for you to install
What's
those in
it?
people's homes.
Oh,
Wouldn't it? Seriously, because a lot of people have walk-in closets that are just nothing. You know, why not take a walk-in closet, get a contractor, get certified or something, start doing that? That's a good idea.
yeah. You have to have specialized contractors to
do that type
do
of thing,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So so you have the salt room. Your daughter does acupuncture, and then what was the other things that she does?
She does acupressure and reflexology.
And reflexology. So, and how those are closely tied together, yes?
Yes.
But they're still separate entities, like as far as like how you would
Yes.
diagnose somebody and say you need this versus this. Is there ever a situation where you need both?
Well, acupressure is more for pain.
I see.
So people that are struggling with pain, she uses the right amount of pressure at different pressure points on people to help relieve that pain, so eventually she can work on that affected area.
Okay.
Reflexology feels like a massage.
Right.
So she's certified on hands, feet, and face. So any of those areas will feel like a massage, but really she can tell and feel what is going on with every system and organ in your body.
Oh gosh, really?
And then she can like offer it support or bring it to where it needs to be, as best as she can. And then she'll offer suggestions as to what they can do to continue or to help support that.
Wow. So when somebody comes into you and says, okay, I've got like chronic breathing issues, like chronic lung issues, or I'm having this issue with my leg and doctors don't know what the heck's going on and it's intermittent. So at that point, do you do kind of like a workup on them and say, okay, well, here's what we know we can do for you. And then you just keep getting more specific with it as they stay with you to try to really drill down into what the issue is. And then you have enough services there to do that. Yes.
I just let them know what we have available and just let them decide what they want to do. Huh. And so I let them know if they don't know what it is, a good place to start would be with my daughter with reflexology, so she can kind of give you an idea what she thinks it could be.
Right.
If it's chronic breathing issues, I would suggest starting in the salt room.
Okay.
And or like always having pain, and stress. A lot of people are stressed today, and a lot of people do have pain. So I would say, why don't you try a session in my salt room and a session in the sauna, and just see what you think and see if you think that could help.
Right. Well, okay. So now you just brought up the sauna. So now we covered the rock room there. It's a salt rock room. So what's the sauna all about?
So I have 2 certified commercial medical grade saunas approved by the FDA.
Okay.
They are infrared saunas, so they are not heat. It's not the moist heat that we think of the traditional saunas. It's a dry heat, like Arizona heat compared to Florida heat.
Really? So, okay, explain the difference then, as far as benefits.
So there's no humidity.
Okay.
So you're not going to... the infrared is a healthier heat because you're not adding anything to that. Like the moist heat adds like the humidity, the dampness, the water to it.
Right.
And so it's a dry heat.
So now does that, because one of the premises, now I'm a layman with this, so I barely know anything. But so when you're in a regular sauna, part of the idea is that you're sweating toxins. So in the dry heat, does that have a similar effect, or are we going for something? Oh, it does. Okay. So it's essentially the same without all that. Because I always heard that humidity is not good for you.
Right. Humidity causes sinus issues and congestion.
Yeah. I always wondered, I mean, you've tried those type of saunas before, and I've tried them. I hated them. You know,
Right.
it was just
They
like
weren't
horrible.
enjoyable.
No, it's just, yeah, it's like a stress just to go through it. You know, you're like, I thought this was supposed to detox and de-stress me, and it just like feels horrible. It feels like somebody's putting a hot towel over your mouth,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and you're like, I can't breathe in this thing, and I feel horrible. Now, granted, when you come out, you take a shower, you feel a little bit better, but the dry heat actually, so it has the benefit without all that gunk.
Right. You're getting the benefits of the infrared rays, the dry heat, the warmth, as well as both of our saunas have chromotherapy.
So you're like a little lizard, right, on a rock, right? You're bathing yourself in this beautiful light, essentially. I see. So it's like your lizard room. So so same benefits, but you don't get all that gunk with it, and then you're getting additionals as well.
Yes.
Well, that's so. How did you? Was that through your own experience that you put that in, or was that something that you were just suggested and you tried it out and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I want this in my place.
Yeah, a functional doctor in Texas had recommended it. And so I looked into it. And so I thought, well, I'll buy one and just see
Sure.
how it goes.
And it went well. So you added a second one.
Yes.
So there's no difference between the two. It's just because you're busy enough to accommodate the two rooms. And sometimes you're going to need them, right? Because there's only so many
Right.
hours in the day and so much time. So, so that's 3 rooms you have back there then, plus your daughter's her area as well. So I mean,
Yes.
that's like your shop it must be pretty deep then, because you have that beautiful storefront, and then so all this other stuff right parallel behind everything, correct?
Yes.
Wow. So are you guys really heavily booked on a lot of this stuff? Like, how long is it? Like, if I called you today, like, can I get in a week or two?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we can get you in a week or 2 weeks, as long as you're flexible.
Okay. Yeah. Right. And the sessions are booked by hour, or?
So the salt room is a 45-minute session. So we do that every hour on the hour.
Okay.
And then the infrared saunas, we start everyone at 10 minutes, and every 3 visits,
Oh,
we increase by 5-minute
I'm
increments.
sorry.
up
So
to
would you be
30 minutes.
cooked? Yeah, you can't go. That was a dumb question, right? You can't go in for an hour in your first shot then.
No, I work with specialists in Syracuse that specializes with Lyme disease,
Okay.
and they send their patients here to use my saunas because there's no one else that's close enough to them to use them.
Oh, wow.
seen
So you're one of
2
the only ones in the
people.
area.
Yeah, I have seen 2 people get healed from Lyme disease from using my saunas regularly.
Whoa. Okay, that's a big deal, because Lyme disease is first and foremost impossible to pin down sometimes. People suffer with
Yes.
it for years and years and don't really know, and they'll get
Yes.
misdiagnosed. And when you do get diagnosed, nobody still knows how to properly treat it because it's different for every
Right.
person. So that's an amazing situation. So it's just that, like, you didn't supplement with herbs or anything else, or like
No.
they just came in and
They work with their doctors, with their diet, with their nutrition, and everything else, and they just come to use my saunas.
good Lord.
So
Wow.
so I have to work differently with the saunas. 10 minutes is too long for them to start in my saunas.
Okay.
So anyone that is starting out in the sauna and they're feeling lightheaded or dizziness or nausea, I would suggest that they go to the doctor to get tested for autoimmune like Lyme disease, and then I can work differently with them.
Wait, is that, because that's almost diagnosing it then? So is that a symptom, some odd offshoot where if they're in there, they feel a certain way, you can say, hey,
Yeah.
look, you need to go because this is a sign that you might have. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's a
Yeah.
whole thing in and of itself then,
Yes.
because people, like, is that pretty consistent, that issue? Like, if you're in there and you feel a certain way, you feel nauseous, you are prone more to having something like that?
Yeah, that is pretty much that would be a red flag
Huh.
to think that it could be Lyme's or another autoimmune.
Sure. And all autoimmunes are a little tricky, yes?
Yes.
Because it's just such an odd bunch of symptoms that you have when you have something like that. So, so you get doctors recommending you then. So you have patients coming from pretty far to use
Yeah.
these then, and
Yeah.
and the salt room. So can you then? Are you like kind of doing a 360 on those people? Are they in and out in the saunas? You know what I mean? Like, once you get somebody there and they're starting to heal, do you go further with them? Or is it just up to the specific individual?
We let them decide what they want to do. So we offer memberships.
Okay.
So it's unlimited use for either 3 months or 6 months of using either one of our saunas and the salt room.
Oh, that's
And
great.
then,
Okay.
so in that 3 to 6 months, especially if they have a situation where they are trying to heal from, we try to keep up to date with them as to how they're feeling and if they're noticing a difference. And then when they really notice a difference is if they don't come for a week. And then they can notice
Right.
a
Well,
difference.
it's like everything else, right? Because it's a slow process, and you might feel, but you just don't
Right.
know really where you are because you just, you look back and then you might realize it. But in your daily life, you're like, oh, I'm feeling good. I'm just gonna keep going. But then when you miss it, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get back in there, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, so we just work with whatever situation they're going through, and we offer suggestions as to what we have. And if we don't have something, we offer what we know, and if we don't know, we're upfront and we just tell them, I don't know.
which is awesome. Yeah, but you know what? That is a very integral thing to any business like this because there's a lot of stuff out there, and if you're honest with people, then you get their loyalty. Because that's
Right.
it's integrity. You're like, okay, look, I'm sorry, we don't know this, but we do know this, and this is what we offer. And then that also can send you on another path too with your knowledge base as well. If you get enough people asking for something,
Right.
So, so that covers your services, right? So between your daughters, and then the rock room and the infrared saunas, that's like kind of the nut of what you have behind the wall there, right?
And we have our nutritional therapy practitioner.
Oh, so let's talk about that. So will take you and break down your diet. I love nutrition. I was just at a lady shop, a client in Akron, who's just a firm believer that food is the best medicine, and she went so far. She was in the medical industry, I think, and she went so far as to actually opening up a restaurant because she's like, look, this, if you get your diet right, you can heal yourself.
Yes, our bodies have been created to be able to, under the right circumstances, heal itself by giving it the right nutrients that it's needing.
Right.
The right amount of water and
yeah, sleep, your diet. I mean, look what you put in. Crap in, crap out. Right. I mean, so literally, but if you're gonna get, you have to take care of yourself, and it starts with your food and it starts with your diet. And in this country, we are off the rails with our diets,
right.
mostly. So,
and what foods work for one person may not for another person.
Exactly.
And Nancy is like a detective. She is very good at getting to the root causes of issues that people are feeling, and so she is quite the testimony herself. She, in her early 20s, I believe, was diagnosed with bipolar.
Okay.
And the doctors wanted to put her on medication, and all of a sudden, a verse rose up in her that she remembered learning when she was a young girl, that what is impossible with man is possible with God. So she took the script, she didn't fill it, and she goes, okay, I need to heal myself. And the Lord led her to nutrition. And she's able to heal herself from bipolar. And she's got quite the story.
Wow. Yeah, well,
it is incredible.
So how did she find you? Did you add that service on? Were you actively pursuing that, or did she just kind of, you guys?
We met one day. We were doing an event at a pregnancy center. It was a fundraiser, and I was there with my olive oils and balsamics, and she paints beautiful signs. And so she was going around trying to see what all the vendors had that day. And we just connected like immediately. I had been studying nutrition, and I had taken a nutritional course probably a year or two before then. And it was a really in-depth study on nutrition, and it was going on about the blood-brain barrier between the gut and the brain health.
I've been there. Yep, I've been there many times, and I understand that. All right.
And so, and not many people do. There's dietitians, there's nutritionists, and then there's um, coaches and such. And when I've talked to different people about that, they haven't understood what I've said.
Yeah, I went to a whole
And
seminar actually in Buffalo on that. So yeah.
very cool. So, anyways, she was telling me how she's a nutritionist, and so she's, so I tested her, and I said,
Right.
"Oh, I took a nutrition class. It was quite in depth." And I said, "I learned about that blood-brain barrier thing." And she goes, oh, "Yes."
Well, she got it.
So yes, and she knew everything. We would go back and forth about nutrition, and so she told me how she was able to heal herself, and I just felt that she would be a wonderful addition to Herbalty Cottage because she just fits right in with us.
Sure. It's amazing. And that's kind of, I mean, look at this. So this is why I do this podcast, because I can't cover this. Even my old TV show was a half hour long, and I would go into businesses and, we'd film it and we'd talk and we'd walk. And when I started to discover the depth that podcasts can go to, I thought it was important to do, because your story is amazing. Your business is amazing. You're helping people. And then what you've been telling me is just like all these signs and signifiers and the synchronicity, all this stuff is lining up for you, and people find you because they're meant to find you, and you find them. And then because together you're more powerful than you were singularly,
Yeah.
and you're on a mission, really.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's incredible actually what you're
She
doing.
also does Christian life coaching in our salt room as well.
Wow. So that's a whole thing as well that you guys are doing out of there. So with the inclusion of her, then it's really this beautiful holistic 360 approach that you have, because it's a mind, body, and that you're dealing with nutrition as well. And now your products reflect that. So because when you walk into the shop, remember when we first met, I was like, I thought it was just the shop. And then you told me your story, and you told me all this other stuff, and I was completely blown away, because that's not what you walk in, you're like, oh, these awesome products. And then there's this whole host of services that you have. And that's something that I'm deeply into. So I understand that. But the products alone, I mean, you have great product selection there. And
Thank you.
Do you have them available online, or are they just in the store there?
The oils and balsamics are available online, and our herbs.
Okay.
I'm in the process. We just got new labels for our oils and balsamics, so I'm in the process of updating the website.
Okay.
With the new labels, but yeah.
Awesome. So pretty much those things are available online. And so as far as the herbs go, have you changed that over the course of the 7 years that you've been in business, as far as like kind of drilling down, or is it just the same selection that you've always had? And are you curating them to a degree to match a variety of health issues? In other words, is it a wide selection, just a general, or are you like very specific with what you offer?
Of the herbs?
Yeah.
We started out with several herbs actually, but I think we've added quite a few. Pretty much. So there was an herbalist in the area that was moving to Minnesota, and so she had bulk organic herbs. So I bought her inventory from her.
Okay.
And then over the years, I've added as things have been needed by others. But
that was kind of, that was a heart of my question. So it was kind of like people would come in, and you might have even known, like, oh, this herb will help that, and then you started just would carry it. I see.
Well, and then a lot of times there's more than one herb that has the same properties that can help as well.
Okay.
So if we don't have the specific one they're asking for, we can also offer alternatives.
Right.
And we also do muscle testing here too, to see if it would be something that they would be a good candidate to use.
Okay. So, and then the olive oils and the vinaigrette. So that's something that you basically carried from day one as well, you said.
Yes.
So, and those are imported, and they're the first press, cold press type of thing?
Yes.
Which is huge. And so why, out of all the products that you could have carried, why olive
Because I like how they look.
Well, that works. That was just a
I
thing. You just liked it.
thought it was just pretty, I think wine bottles are pretty, and to have like a store, and I don't want to be responsible for DWIs. I don't want to be responsible for someone becoming an alcoholic because they're buying from me. And olive oils, it's the right fat that we need. And
Yep.
balsamics, speed up the metabolism. It's good for your health. It's what's needed, and not everyone is getting the right fats in their diet.
No.
And to coincide with what we're doing.
Yeah, it works great. Yeah, no, when I walked in,
Yeah.
I've never seen that combination before. That's why I was inquiring right now, because it was just like, you see where you see olive oils and vinaigrettes and stuff is usually not in a herb store. Right. So,
Right.
but it makes perfect sense when I see it. That was the odd experience I had in your store, because I walked in, I was like, wow, this place looks great. And I remember you were right with me actually when I was discovering your store, and I was looking around and I was like, what? There's olive oil, there's vinaigrettes. But then it just makes sense really when you think about it with what you're doing. And for me, well,
Yeah.
especially for me, because I literally have it every single day. And I just thought it was funny. I was like, well, there you go. It's like because it's a foundation of my life, just to get the right fats and make sure, like,
Right.
vinaigrettes are very healthy for you. So now, do you do teas too? Yes or no?
Yes.
So
we
you
do have some hand-picked fats from Myanmar. We knew someone that was living over there and would send us those teas. He's no longer there, but we still have quite a stock on those.
Oh, that's
And
great.
then we've created teas and seasonings using our herbs as well.
That's okay. So I was kind of loading that, because that's where I was headed with this, is like, because it just makes sense that you should, right? You have all the ingredients, you have the knowledge, so why not put it out there? So, and that's good. So you have your online business, you have your storefront, then you have all the services in back. Do you offer any other classes?
No, we are really out of time.
Yeah, no,
For
dude,
classes,
I
there's
know,
no-
man. It's like that with me. I'm like, I am so tapped out as far as time goes.
Right.
You're like, I'm always at my maximum. You know what I mean? And it's weird because I always say, like, oh, if there could just be a little bit of give. And then I seem to just fill that space. If there's a little air, I'll fill it right back up again,
Before all of our services that we had, when we first opened up the first couple of years, we did offer herbal classes. And one time we took a walk along the canal, did an herbal identification class. And so we have done that in the past.
Right.
But with everything that's been added on, there just really hasn't been.
No, it's not. Well, that's about it for this episode of the Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember to support the small towns of Western New York in any way you can. They're full of great businesses and people who'd love to see you in their towns. The Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast, the TV series, is a presentation of Discovering Western New York and AA Augustine Media Co. and can be found everywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for listening.